who is live with us this evening. Good evening to you, Latrae.
Good evening.
Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you, again.
My pleasure, absolutely. I guess, I mean, are we expected to see more of that?
Well, I cannot. What I can say. I mean, I think that there's a lot of instability in the world. This is not something new to the Bahamas. We've had this constant flow of legal, irregular migrants that continue to use the Bahamas as an avenue to get to the United States.
Yes. And obviously people are desperate from that region of the world to just get away from it entirely. And so we see what happened this afternoon.
And particularly in our region as well. So the issue of irregular migrants is not something particularly new to the Bahamas. I think something that the Minister of Immigration spoke to in Parliament today during the midterm budget debate. Mm-hmm. He spoke about how the Bahamas, during a period of January to now, had repatriated more than 3,000 individuals.
Wow, I mean, and
significant. It's a significant number.
You bet right it is. It is. And then here we are caught in the middle, trying to sort of stay neutral, but caught into this thing, because here we are with some citizens from that region of the world, and understandably so, with all that's happening there, trying to escape there. I know the former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram said that we can't sort of, I guess, sit on the fence with this. We have to kind of, as a country, state where we truly stand on this whole Russia-Ukraine.
I think one of the things that we also recognize is the Bahamas foreign policy has always been enshrined with a collective view of the CARICOM bloc. You know, we are small island states. Mm-hmm. We try to echo a similar foreign policy position. At some instances, we do insert our sovereign right on matters, but for now, I think that we are going to maintain the foreign policy to collectively look at these issues and see how the region could deal with this level of instability in the world today.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, congratulations on your first 6 months.
Well, you too. Well, I think
it's me too. Yeah,
it's a mutual congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, you're right. We are both celebrating, right, the same amount of time. But congratulations on the first 6 months in office. How do you feel about the administration's performance 6 months in?
I think there's a sense that we are heading in the right direction. I think most importantly, we had to come into office with grounded in several tenets. One, we had to ensure that we control the virus in a way that, the pandemic in a way that ensured it helped the economy. We wanted to restore some transparency around that issue. We wanted to immediately arrest the economic woes the country's having. We wanted to ensure that there was some compassionate response around stabilizing our economy. We started off with a supplementary budget to reprioritize the government fiscal priorities. We reduced the VAT to our commitment. We immediately ensured that we restore labor relations. We wanted to reset our international diplomacy, ensuring that the Bahamas is open for business. But it was funny, you know, when the Prime Minister go on these foreign policy trips, the sentiment is that it's good to have the Bahamas back in the room. We wanted to ensure that in the last 6 months that the Bahamas voice was present on key issues. There's a clear focus on Grand Bahama and Abaco. There has been no construction effort in those islands insofar as housing in the last 2 years. So I'm happy that the Minister, Colby Davis, has a stern focus on Grand Bahama and Abaco.
Islands, yeah.
I can tell you now that there's shovel in the ground. There's construction happening in Abaco, and we expect that there will be people in homes come this summer. There's been key commitment around government policies insofar as reform in the public sector. As you can see, Minister Pia Global Role has outlined a 10-step plan to reform the public service. I think that
it's a lot of low tension brewing in the public service.
But I think, you know, one of the challenges you realize, there's some aging HR problems.
Yes.
These are things that has accumulated over a period of time. It requires some degree of flexibility in its policies. I think what requires now is a sober government to appreciate these circumstances. This didn't all happen overnight.
No,
and it's an
quite
improvement.
It
accrued over a period of years. But altogether, I think that there's a sense of that we have gone past the years of the misadministration. People are looking forward to a new day. They're looking forward to policies that speak to the dignity of our people. Is happy that our students are back in the classroom, and nurses, the health professionals believe that there's a sense of respect. There's no more emergency orders. There's no more one-man rule.
A sense of respect, and nurses are still leaving in
Well,
droves?
when I say sense of respect, consultancy, the nurses have been paid their back pay. I think it's a separate issue. I don't think that's a lack of respect. I think one of the things, and I won't confuse it, I think what you have is, insofar as nurses, you have competitive salaries. So you have the United States that is able to give competitive salaries to Bahamian, and so Bahamian nurses. So I think the government recognized there's an effort and there's a need to have a considered effort on how we could keep Bahamian professionals home.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you mentioned a number of those achievements that the administration highlighted yesterday on the actual date of the 6-month anniversary, ending the emergency orders and curfews, as you said, conducting tens of thousands of free COVID tests, hired additional nurses, rebounding tourist industry, the return of face-to-face learning. But get this when you mention about the drop in VAT. Former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, yesterday during his presentation to the mid-year budget, accused this administration of not caring for the poor because of the introduction of VAT on bread basket items. How does the government feel about his assessment on wood?
I don't think that the former Prime Minister has any credibility on the issue of poor in our country. I think his record reflects for itself. I think that his management of COVID-19 reflects for itself. I think, any Prime Minister who went on record saying that in my next administration as a Prime Minister I'll focus on poor has no credibility on the issue. So I won't give any attention to that.
So moving right along, because it did come out of his mouth for real.
Moving right along.
Next, re-elect me because
and all due respect to him, but I just think that his record on the matter speaks for itself.
Well, the concern of crime is an issue for many, many Bahamians as the country reopens and business gets back to normal. People want to know what's really the plan moving forward to keep neighborhoods safe and ensure that quality of life any and everywhere in the Bahamas is maintained and regained.
I think one of the things that we have said, we want to restore a sense of independence around the police commissioner. According to the Act, the Commissioner of Police is responsible for producing an annual crime plan. What we want to focus on is ensuring that the Royal Bahamas Police Force has the resources they need. We want to encourage them to look at issues of reform. We have a separate, let me just answer this question in three parts. One, we have an issue around proliferation of illegal weapons in our country. The second issue, we have a gang proliferation problem. And the third issue is we have a disadvantaged youth who are susceptible to this kind of environment. It shows that we have to strengthen opportunities around education. And so what the government wants to focus on is we want to make sure that we prevent crime rather than respond to crime. So the government will focus on preventive mechanisms, and we want the Royal Bahamas Police Force to strengthen their resources to be able to respond effectively to these issues. I think one of the things that we are encouraged about that we have to, whether it's through anti-gang units or whether it's through an anti-illegal weapon unit, I think it's a constant focus has to be fixed on this issue. The Prime Minister met with Acting Commissioner of Police, Clayton Fernandez, this morning. They spoke about these issues, so there's obviously some concerns there. But I think there has to be a balance and a cooperative approach around this issue.
And with everybody,
a collective society approach. I mean, because the truth of the matter, families know who are deemed to be a problem to society and the community. I think that there has to be a collective. I mean, the police job is only as good as the intelligence they get. And so in order for us to have good policing, we have to be very cooperative.
Well, the acting commissioner was on the show earlier this week, and something that was quite encouraging. He said that a part of the plan and strategy is to be in these neighborhoods now, 24 hours, exactly.
A more integrated approach.
The government has a lot ahead, Latrae. The marital rape issue. First of all, where did this just reappear, right? The marital rape issue is quite divisive. How do you plan on moving forward on this issue with so much resistance from men and women when it seems that a referendum is not up for consideration? So if there, for example, is legislation to be passed and put forward, will there be consultation before you move forward?
Well, on the issue, the Prime Minister has said on the record that he has mandated the Attorney General to look at a set of issues around domestic violence, around human rights issues, around gender equality, with a view of bringing those recommendations back to Cabinet. Some of those recommendations have been in the public discourse. And you could heard that there's some degree of general conversation around these issues. The government has, from day one, we campaigned that we were going to be a government that consult widely. I think there will be a stakeholder component to the top policy implementation process. We will look at this. I think that the cabinet of the Bahamas is set to get a presentation on those recommendations with a view on taking that stage to whether it's NGOs and the church community. But I think that there's a general sense that there's time to move on some issues. I think the view
like
is,
the Bahamas should not be trailing.
I think this is an issue right and wrong, and I think that we have to recognize that there are some cultural differences. The government has to govern, and I think that but we will govern by consulting.
Listen, Latrae, I'm excited and anxious to see exactly how you all proceed with that, because you got many men of the church and others who are steadfast in the fact that, listen, what happens in their bedroom is their business.
I think we are minded that persons have some,
and women,
some cultural views that is not consistent with where the world is today. I think you have to appreciate that for what it is, and I think that you have to be able to deal with it at that level. But the government have to be able to bring about laws that speaks to the dignity of human life and human beings.
Yeah. Grand Bahama's economy, Latrae, as you're very aware, is stagnant. Business owners are protesting and calling for the government, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and Hutchison Whampoa to come together and put the right systems in place, the right recipe to get the island's economy moving in the right direction again. What can Grand Bahama look forward to in the immediate future, especially as business owners are now finding their voice, their collective voice, and asking for more, demanding more?
Well, I will say this. I think the government of the Bahamas recognized Grand Bahama for what it is, which is the blue economy of our country. We believe that it's the maritime economy of our country, and we do intend to position it as such. I believe that the Grand Bahama,
What is the blue economy, by the way?
Blue economy is just the economy that focuses on the maritime economy, the aqua side of the economy, and using the maritime industry to propel young Bahamians. I think they're well poised for that because of the natural harbor they have in the port. So I think that they play a very critical role in trade. I think that we have to be very intentional. Government tend to be very intentional with diversifying that area of that economy. I think what is critical, we have to recognize that climate change have an impact on our economy. Hurricane Grand Bahama has suffered a lot of implications around those issues. And so I think through petitioning the global diplomacy to respond to the Bahamas in kind. But I think the government, we intend to move on with the issue of building a hospital in Grand Bahama. That was announced today by the Minister of Health. Hopefully by this summer, a shovel being ground to building. The Deputy Prime Minister also said today that we are in the final stage of finding a buyer for the Grand Lucayan Hotel. But these things are abstract components. We do intend to build an economy that empowers Grand Bahamians. An
economy that can withstand all
these different external shocks. But the government has began conversation with the Grand Bahama Port Authority to ensure that we see eye to eye on a lot of issues.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, and I don't want to be mischievous, but there's been a lot of outcry that perhaps Ginger Moxie needs to be doing more, the Minister of Grand Bahama. Your thoughts on her performance, because many are saying it's lacking.
I think that the Minister of Grand Bahama is carrying out the mandate of the administration. I think the Grand Bahama Port Authority must do its part. I think that the Grand Bahamas must continue to put pressure on the Grand Bahama Port Authority to do its part. I think that there has to be,
on the Minister.
I think accountability is necessary. Accountability leads to good governance. I think when you petition accountability, the system move in a way that responds to the upliftment of people. I think that this is healthy for our democracy. A person should be able to voice and vocalize their dissatisfaction. I have every reason to believe that Minister Moxie is passionate about these issues. She's passionate about the island of Grand Bahama. I've had several conversations with her. She has a vision, and that vision is in line with the blueprint for change. And I think that there are going to be constant progress on moving the island forward.
Okay, we'll get this one. As a Director of Communications in OPM, what are you most excited about for the administration looking ahead?
I will not leave without mentioning this. I am looking forward. The government said I would say this, and we haven't touched on it tonight. We have to get to the bottom of this pandemic spending. The former administration.
I heard the Prime Minister moments ago as he's wrapping up the mid-year budget.
The former administration subverted a lot of public funds from the normal checks and balances. I think that we have to report to the Bahamian people on that. But outside the lack of transparency...
Let's just talk about that for a second, right?
That's why she didn't bring it up.
I'll tell you, got distracted with everything else, trying to put together. But let's just talk about that. Even the Prime Minister talked about, let's just go to that food program and the fact that just the various salaries and a lot, just it really was a lot. I mean, from gas allowances to the monthly salary and just so much just with the food program that caused you scratch your head.
I will say this. The Prime Minister is not only frustrated, he's upset. He's upset because when he was in opposition, he warned the government, from the previous administration, that they ought to be cognizant about the need to transparent, to report and to be transparent around government funding. He also explained to them the vulnerabilities around the lack of accountability and lack of transparency. All of the things that he warned about are now being revealed.
Yeah, and it is.
I think it's to build on what is unfortunate, that the previous administration believed that the Bahamian people don't deserve a set of transparency around these issues. The government of the Bahamas have the right, whether it's FNM or PLP, to ask questions about taxpayers' dollars in a way that leads to greater transparency, so we as the citizens of our country could get a better appreciation as to how the government of the Bahamas is spending our funds. Now, what I do look forward to, I look forward to the Bahamas celebrating 50 years of independence as an independent country. I do look forward to the government blueprint for change in a way that uplifts and empowers the Bahamian people. I look forward to the reforms around the economy and education and the blue economy. There are some exciting things that's going to happen in the next 2 months. I'm happy. I lost my father to a heart attack. So I'm optimistic and proud that this government is bringing national health insurance back on the table, something I'm passionate about, so that Bahamians can have access.
And the wellness part of the Ministry of Health. That's very important for this country as well.
I'm a proponent of Bahamians having access to healthcare, because I think it's important, and it's the difference between life and death.
Latrae, I tell you, you touch on something that really is a nerve for a number of
Bahamian families, particularly mental health. And I think that's something that we do intend to make priority, mental health, particularly after COVID-19.
Yeah, we have to normalize that conversation and normalize the fact that seeking help is okay.
I think too, another component that we're focused on is domestic violence. I think that we have to create an environment of safety for our young women and children, so that they can have an environment where they feel safe. I think that the truth of the matter is, the situation that happened last week, that young lady got all the help and mechanism from the Minister of State for social services.
I assisted in trying to make that happen. And then to hear, I couldn't believe it, because I just felt she was on the right path. Yeah. The minister herself was looking forward to having her be employed in the Ministry of Social
Services around these issues.
Around that very issue. It's just so unfortunate. And again, I am a proponent too of mental health, of physical health, and all of us doing what's necessary, to be able to be a healthier country. But I thank you very much. And once again, congratulations on 6 months. Now we're going to, on the next segment, Latrae won't be here. What we will do is we will assess a lot of what the government has done, what the government has planned, and just take a deeper look. Stay exactly where you are. This is Beyond the Headlines. More right after the break.